hope that doggy's for sale.
The incomparable Patti Page. Did you sing that song when you were young, Rob?
Nope.
You did?
Nope.
Oh my gosh, we used to sing it all the time when I was in school.
Not.
It was like nursery school mandatory.
Really?
For me. Yeah.
Nursery school for me was Green Hill Country Day, and all I remember is
Oh my God. Did you just say Country Day?
in the mean streets of
Rich
Sasset.
Rich
Mean
kid.
streets of Sasset, and we listened
Rich
to
kid.
Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yes, I'll bet you did because everybody it was that time of the season, as they say.
It was 65.
Nice,
1965.
nice. No, we did. We used to do How Much Is That Dog in the Window, and my personal favorite, Red Red Robin. Do you know that one?
Nope.
Oh, gee. All right. Well, wait a minute. So it went. I think it went like this, right? When the red, red robin comes bobbing along, along, there'll be no more sobbing when he starts singing his song. His song. Wake up, you sleepyhead. Get up, get out of bed. Singing his song as the red, red robin goes bobbing along.
Yay.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't do it justice because he was doing jazz hands the whole time. His hands were like bob and along.
Yeah, but I wasn't doing diva hand. You know how they do the like,
Kinda.
up, down. So my first day of nursery school at Mrs. Miller's, Janine Fitzgerald sang that to me, and I knew I was in the right place. Absolutely.
Was she
Janine,
aware?
Janine, if you're listening, thanks for that one. It was one of the best days of my life.
Was she a teacher or just a
No,
random
and I think I was
person in
4.
nursery
No,
school?
Janine was a very nice little girl who was wearing a nice little Shirley Temple-ish
pinafore?
little
Okay.
skirt and sang me that song as soon as I walked in the door. All right. So, Rob, this is the pet episode, and I'm going to start this out by asking you, dog guy or cat guy? What do you think?
Totally a dog guy. I don't think you remember last season I mentioned that cats were the other white meat.
No, I did not.
But since that time, I've made a few feline friends, and I sincerely apologize for that remark about cats. But I'm a dog guy.
Well, I've got to say, it's a no-brainer for me as well. Definitely a dog guy. So in this episode, we're going to discuss pets. The cuddliness, the benefits, the risks, and whatever else we can conjure up from the tangential corners of our minds. But first, our disclaimer. Roberto, if you will.
We are sharing our own personal opinions on pediatric care. Always talk to your own pediatric caregiver about your child. Pediatric caregivers should always consult expert guidelines and consider their own community standards of care. 62% of American households own at least one pet. And according to the CDC, studies have shown that the bond between people and their pets increase fitness, lower stress, bring overall happiness to their owners. Some of the health benefits of having a pet include decreased blood pressure, decreased cholesterol levels, decreased triglyceride levels, decreased feelings of loneliness, increased opportunities for exercise, but not for your kids because your kids will never walk the dog, and increased opportunities for socialization. Those who have pets, including children and adolescents who aren't walking the dog, have been shown to have higher self-esteem, and teens who have pets have a more positive outlook on life and report less loneliness, restlessness, despair, and boredom. And children who have pets are less likely to miss days of school due to illness.
So, let's talk about dogs. So, dog history.
Wait.
Did you recognize that?
No.
It's a little George Michael homage.
No, but I thought you were going to jump into maybe like Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha
No. That's
Or-
cliche, dude.
Or my favorite, Jingle Bell Dogs. Like, ruff, 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 ruff. It almost makes me want to celebrate Christmas.
You like all the novelty songs.
Grandma Got Run
Gotta
Over by a
say,
Reindeer?
yes.
Absolutely.
All that stuff.
That's,
So,
that screams Christmas to me.
thank you, Jewish guy. Dogs have been our companions for thousands of years. As man's best friend, dogs have provided companionship, protection, and assistance with hunting since man's earliest times. So many things about dogs are attractive to us, but probably the most endearing is their friendliness. We take for granted that we can point in that direction, throw a ball, call them, and our dog will react to our cues. The ability of dogs to read human gestures and emotions is amazing. Even animals that are closest to us genetically, animals like chimpanzees and bonobos, can't read our gestures as quickly and as easily as dogs can. Dogs have an incredible ability to communicate with us. As one author pointed out, Dogs are so attuned to their owners that they can read and adjust to something as subtle as a change in our eye direction. In ancient times, people who had dogs during a hunt had a distinct advantage over those who did not. Indeed, in many parts of the world, including Nicaragua and the Congo, dogs continue to remain a major part of hunting cultures. Dogs have served as both a defense system and a warning system for humans for millennia. Most scientists agree that wolves started to associate with people about 15,000 years ago. Dogs were considered to be an important member of the human culture approximately 8,000 years ago, and dogs began to be kept inside of our homes as early as 2,000 years ago during the Roman Empire.
Not to mention the Direwolves of Westeros. Is Nymeria still alive? Will Ghost save the day? I guess we'll find out. You know what I'm talking about, Matt?
What in the world?
Game of Thrones.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay. Go on.
I will. Currently, there are about 78 million dogs kept as pets in the United States. Approximately 44% of all households in the U.S. have at least one dog.
And there are multiple health benefits to owning a dog, starting with cardiovascular health. Research shows that having a dog as a companion is linked again to lower blood pressure and reduced cholesterol and triglyceride. All these factors mean improved cardiovascular health and a lower risk of heart attacks. In addition, dog owners who do have a heart attack have a better risk of survival than people who do not own dogs. So if someone you know has a heart attack, give them a dog quickly. Dog owners also had a lower risk of death from other causes. This is true even after adjusting for factors such as smoking, body mass index, and socioeconomic status. Although it's possible that people who choose to own dogs may simply be more active and in better health, it's also very likely that taking care of a dog encourages people to stay active and live a healthier lifestyle.
So here's a question. Can dogs help to control weight? And I tell you, yes, they can. So daily dog walks help a great deal with this. In one fascinating 2010 study, public housing residents who walked loner dogs 5 times a week lost an average of 14.5 pounds over the course of a year. That's amazing.
It is.
And those who participated consider it to be a responsibility to the dog rather than a burdensome exercise. I mean, they would say things like, they need us to do this. It is a win-win situation. Certainly seems to be a wonderful possibility of engaging two different populations, dogs and people who need the exercise. Dogs can help with the immune system. In a recent study, and this is pretty cool, they gave college students 18 minutes with either petting a dog or petting a toy dog. And they found that with the toy dog subset, there was no change at all. But with the subset that had the dog to pet, salivary IgA in college students increased dramatically when compared to petting that stuffed dog.
Now, I assume that college students knew which ones were live and which ones were
I
stuffed.
presume it would.
I guess it depends on what
Depend
college.
on their state, yes.
If it's a Saturday night, like, whoa,
Absolutely.
it's dead.
Yep. Recent research has also demonstrated that having a dog or cat in one's home lowers a child's likelihood of becoming allergic to pets by up to 33%. A study in the Journal of Pediatrics in 2011 followed over 600 children and found that the rate of eczema was lower among kids who live with a family dog.
We commented on that a little bit last year, and I guess one of the main things is you want to have the dog or cat there from the beginning, like the hygiene
Right.
hypothesis, like not getting them at 5, but if you have them there when you bring the baby home, it really can reduce all those atopic conditions.
Absolutely.
And dogs can also be healthcare providers. Dogs can be trained to detect certain types of cancers, detect low blood sugar in diabetics, and detect early seizure activity in people who have epilepsy. Someday a dog will probably replace Matt in his pediatric practice. Perhaps even now, depending on the breed.
Can I see Dr. Rover instead of Dr. Matt today?
Or at least they could take call for us.
Oh, yeah.
We'll volunteer that. Dogs can add meaning and purpose to people's lives. Their presence encourages people to do things. Even if a person is not feeling physically or emotionally well, the dog still needs them and provides them with a degree of comfort and purpose. Dogs help to prevent loneliness, which is the key to preventing cognitive deficits as one ages. There's also evidence that dogs can improve mental health. Multiple studies have implied a benefit of dog interactions for children with autism or developmental disorders and for children who have been abused. Exposure to dogs has proven to enhance communication skills in children with developmental delays. Some research suggests that when children who struggle with reading read aloud to a trained dog and handler, those children show fewer anxiety symptoms. Their attitudes change and their skills improve said Lisa Freeman, director of the Tufts Institute of Human-Animal Interaction. And a recent study in the journal Science showed that a chemical called oxytocin goes up dramatically in humans and dogs when they share eye contact. Oxytocin is one of the body's happy chemicals and also plays a role in bonding socially. The dog and its owner were left to interact alone for 30 minutes. Before and after the interaction, researchers measured the oxytocin levels of both the canine and the human. It was found that if the dog and owner spent a lot of time making eye contact, these oxytocin levels increased in both of them. The dog had an increase of 130%, and the humans 300%. Have you had any requests in the recent years about helping to certify an animal as an emotional support animal for one of your teen patients?
I have. I've had requests mainly from people who have autistic children, though. And I've got to say, I'm for it. I think that it can add a huge facet to an autistic child's life, probably to an autistic adult's life as well. To have something that unequivocally loves you, that doesn't need anything from you except for contact and presence, to me would be just very rewarding.
Right, and to be clear, these are not service dogs. Service dogs have vigorous training to perform specific tasks and, per the American with Disabilities Act, get full access to almost all places with their handler. An emotional support animal, ESA, has no special training, is there for comfort and emotional support, as Matt just said, and helps with those conditions like anxiety and developmental differences. And the law says that rental units and aircrafts must make reasonable accommodations for them. That may be a dog, a cat, a pot-bellied pig, a rabbit, on one flight, a miniature horse. You need to have a letter from a doctor or a psychologist. There was a recent case that made a lot of news in the Newark airport, United Airlines, where someone tried to bring on an emotional support peacock. And United Airlines said no, and the person complained, and there was a backlash like, have you ever been with a peacock or one of those large animals? They're not friendly.
No.
And, the law says that if they can be accommodated, you can keep them at your feet. So have you been on a flight lately and there's a lot of animals in the cabin, on the floor?
A couple. Yeah. I mean, no, I've got to say the only ones I've seen are the ones who are kept in small little bags,
Right.
little lap dogs.
I've seen a few, and I think it's great, but I also think that there's got to be a limit, and I can understand the airlines having to say, okay, we need better rules. Another place that affects us is college dorms.
Yes.
A lot more college kids, the anxiety and such, they request that, and I'm certainly sympathetic, and I will write a letter if it seems reasonable, but from the college point of view, obviously they have to be concerned about behavior, dogs barking in the middle of the night, not getting sleep.
Right. I have a few college kids, it's my recollection, who actually are training service dogs during that. Now, they probably have to live off campus. So
Right.
I don't know what kind of accommodations could be made otherwise, but that's pretty cool thing.
It is, but after that first year when you have to give the dog up.
I know.
That's
it has
really
to be
tough.
the right type of thing. So I'm curious. If you had a pot-bellied pig, what would you call it?
Porky.
Oh, no. That infers like pork chops later on. Not
How many
not
pigs?
Looney
Wait,
Tunes.
no. I guess I take that back. Arnold Ziffel. I name it Arnold Ziffel.
Nice. Green Acres, right?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. I would name mine. I'm itching to name an animal I have Otis. I just think that's a cool name. Yeah, Otis the pot-bellied pig.
All right.
I wanted to name one of my labs Otis, but I got shot down by the rest of the family.
Christmas ideas out there for Matt if
Ding,
you're
ding,
listening.
ding.
And
A fish named Otis.
One last thing. I had a patient recently with chronic pain who I have been seeing for years, and he's gone all over the country to get treated, and it hasn't really helped. And he's probably his last visit with me recently. He's out of college age, and it was the first time I'd seen him smile in literally a decade. And he said that one of the big things was he got a puppy.
Wow.
After going to Boston Children's, going to California, Botox treatments, all these different medications and acupuncture, a puppy is what he felt helped him the most.
Wow.
So that speaks volumes.
I'll bet his oxytocin was cranking.
Off the charts.
So there are some disadvantages of dogs. There's a downside. According to the CDC, over 86,000 falls per year are caused by pets, 88% by dogs. These types of falls can be horrific events for older people and can lead to serious injury. So although we advocate dogs in most cases, people who are elderly really do have to be careful. So what else? What other havoc could dogs wreak? Dog bites. So according to the Centers for Disease Control, approximately 4.5 million dog bites occur in the United States every year, and 900,000 of those bites become infected. The U.S. population is about 326 million as of 2017. So what that means is a dog bites 1 out of every 72 people every year.
And dog bites are much more common than cat bites. But as we learned in residency, cat bites are much more likely, 5 times more likely to cause an infection because they're usually puncture wounds.
Yes.
And we worry about aggressive infections with dog bites and cat bites, especially with Pasteurella multacida or multacida. It's always on the boards. So if there's a high-risk bite in a face, in a hand, or puncture wounds, the drug of choice is Augmentin. I'll even call that in on call without seeing the patient. If they describe it to me, if they don't need to go to the ER, just get the Augmentin in as soon as possible to prevent an injury after they wash it.
I love me some Augmentin. So which dogs
And
do you
the
think?
diarrhea.
So which dogs do you think bite the most?
I'll go with pit bulls.
They're on the list. Yep.
And chihuahuas.
Yep.
And that's all I got.
Yeah, so chihuahuas, bulldogs, pit bulls, German shepherds, Australian shepherds, interestingly enough, Lhasa Apso, is that how you say that? Jack Russell Terriers, Cocker Spaniels.
Cocker Spaniels?
Oh, geez.
Really?
My sister had one. Those things are hyper.
Wow.
Bull Terriers, Pekingese, and Papillons.
They all bite.
Those are the dogs most notorious for biting. I will say I once took care of a German Shepherd who had been an MP's dog, and boy, talk about trained to the hilt. I mean, you just had to make a subtle hand movement, and the thing sat down, and it wasn't going to move again until you told it to. Really incredible the way some of these dogs could be trained. But that's another episode.
Let me ask you, how do you weigh in if a parent says to you, which dog breeds are the best for kids? And I know there's a lot of strong feelings about owners, about having a bad reputation, but
yes,
are there any breeds you say, you know what, I don't think that's a great idea if you have very young kids?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to, in a minute, which dog breeds seem to be the best for kids. But off the top of my head, what I tell people is you need to know the breed. You know, I certainly have people in my practice who have pit bulls, who have Rottweilers, who have Dobermans, dogs that are traditionally considered to be potentially dangerous. And I think that as long as a family, particularly the parents who are doing the training, are intimately familiar with that type of animal's idiosyncrasies, then they're in good shape. That means they have taken into account the ways that an animal should be presented to a child. On the other hand, I'm not sure I'm going to run out and get my kids a Chihuahua anytime soon.
Right. I go back to what I want my kid. If I had a young kid, I wouldn't get a new pit bull or Doberman,
a Doberman.
or Rottweiler. So I know they can be fabulous dogs, but if you ask me my opinion, based on what I've read and hear about and experienced over years about bad dog attacks, those 3 breeds, I don't think scream, let's get one in the house when they have a new baby in the house.
No.
To me.
You're absolutely right. I think that when people ask me about the choice of a dog, and there are people who are very familiar with a breed, I just point out to them the pros and cons of a certain breed and say, hey, listen, what's most important is that you're careful with the baby. I mean, that's what we tell people about everything, right? I mean, there are certainly bigger risks out there than the family pet. So let's talk about the question everybody should be asking themselves if they have a dog, or if they're considering getting a dog, or if their children are exposed to dogs. And that is, why do dogs bite? Rob, why do dogs bite?
Because they can.
There's probably more science to it than that, but that's pretty good.
It's an off-color joke, but it's dog-related.
We won't tell the first part of that. In Jeopardy fashion, what joke starts it finishes with because they can. So dogs bite as a reaction to a stressful situation. They might be scared or threatened. They bite to protect themselves or their puppies or their owners. They bite because they're not feeling well or if they've been startled. And they may nip or bite during play, which is really why rough play should be avoided to ensure that you don't overly excite your animal. Rob, I know that you've had dogs in the past. Were you getting them all excited kind of guy with your dogs?
Well, I had a pretty fierce dog growing up. He was a miniature poodle. He didn't want to get Bambi riled up.
You're that guy.
Well, he was a male dog named Bambi, so he was angry to begin with.
I guess that's like a boy named Sue, right?
Exactly.
Why did they name me Bambi?
We toughened him up. That's why we named him
What was that
Bambi.
show? What was that show on TV? Was it Spin City with Michael J. Fox? Remember those two guys had that dog in the apartment, but the dog kept trying to kill himself, and they would like inadvertently foil him, and you could hear the dog's voice like, "Please let me jump, please."
That sounds like Brian Griffin from Family Guy. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of along that lines. It was hilarious. Yeah, I guess you had to see it.
Yep.
All right. So 80% of dog bites cause no injury at all, or only minor injuries that don't require any medical attention. And as Rob pointed out, a lot of dog bites are actually crushes as opposed to punctures. So this is important in the whole context of the pathology there. Overall, if dogs are treated with the respect and kindness they deserve, and with an understanding of the nature of the dogs, then dog bites would be much less common.
And as a dog owner with young kids starting 15 years ago, it really stood out that early socializations of your puppy with children and other dogs really helps prevent problems. And actually, PetSmart nearby had a great program, very economical, where it was just once a week, everybody can come and you're with a million other puppies and people. And that, I think, 6 or 7 week program really helped my dog be incredibly friendly for the rest of his life.
What was your dog's name?
Cody Jack.
Cody Jack. That's a cool name.
Cody
Cool
Jack.
name.
So it's not the expensive obedience training. I don't know if you did that with your dogs,
No.
but it was just a way to socialize them, and it really works well.
That's pretty cool. All right, Robbo, what do you think some of the best dog breeds for children are?
I just got to go with my dog, who I really miss, passed away last year, Cody Jack, who was an English Springer Spaniel. Great breed. Wonderful with kids. Friendly. I loved my English Springer Spaniel. You're giving me a face. You
Not on the list, man.
You're not
I don't know anything about English Springer Spaniels, to be honest with you.
so
How
nice.
did you stumble across this great option? Did
One
you
of
do
my
the
kids,
research?
It's just the look of the dog. We did the research. Not as common as some other ones.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say to me, what are the nicest dogs? I got to put Labs up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're classic and they're great with kids. So I think Labs. I think Golden Retrievers also, to me, seem very friendly and cute.
They're on the list. So we've got on the list, in no particular order.
And Poodles. I mentioned Poodles.
Actually, poodles are on the
Oh,
list.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So beagles, boxers, Newfoundlands. Aren't they humongous?
They are.
They are. Irish setters.
Oh.
Yep. Poodles, Labrador Retrievers, my personal favorite, and Golden Retrievers. So I can definitely vouch for the Labs. They are awesome dogs. I've got a couple at home, a brother and sister, and they are a huge part of our lives. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll see how Rob does on a quick quiz on cartoon dogs. We'll be right back.
You didn't.
What?
You didn't mention your cockapoo and your labradoodle.
Yeah. There's a reason
You're
for that.
ashamed of them? The Godhold cockapoo?
My miniature schnauzer. Yeah.
And your potbelly pig?
I think you're confusing that with my daughter's rabbit from school, my kindergarten teaching daughter who brings Bella the rabbit home, and my dogs go freaky. All right. We'll be back in a minute.
We're back and want to talk again about Julie Ortiz and her company, Triage for Pediatrics. I was on call last night, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because I got a full night rest. There was one call during the night at 3 a.m., and it was taken care of. Got the fax this morning. Great service, customizable, quality, affordable, and just unbelievable service from Julie Ortiz. You can call her, and she'll take care of everything. As we said last time, it's really changed the way I feel about practice and will prolong my career.
Yes. Rob sold me on this idea for my own practice probably about 6 months ago or so. And now we have it in place. And I have to say, life could not be better. We happen to use Triage for Pediatrics between 11 o'clock and 7 in the morning. And just knowing that I'm not going to be woken up during that time is priceless to me. And so any pediatricians out there listening, if you don't use this service, you should. This is fantastic. We really, really have enjoyed it in our practice for nothing else except for the peace of mind it gives us, knowing that our patients are going to get the right answers at the right times, and we're going to be able to continue to sleep.
And some of our colleagues use it as a full answering service every time they're out of the office. Some use it all evening, so you can decide even pretty much night to night what hours you want to use them.
Yeah.
And it was really seamless. And again, not a single complaint from our families, and our families are pretty high standards, and no issues clinically at all. And knowing when to call us and knowing when to refer to the emergency room. Again, it's in 29 states, and more states are added each month. You can call Julie Ortiz and her company at 214-450-5030 or email her at jortiz@triage4pediatrics.com. That's JORTIZ at the word triage, TRIAGE, then the number 4, then pediatrics.com, no spaces. And if you call her, mention us, the podcast pediatricians, and you'll get a really, really, really good discount.
Really?
Really.
Okay. Rob, I've got a challenge for you here. This is our pet episode, so you know we had to sneak into pop culture somehow just to assuage your needs. So I need you to name for me, off the top of your head, 5 cartoon dogs.
5 cartoon dogs. Well, remember a while back we were talking about college hazing?
Yes.
Well, I mentioned we didn't have hazing at my fraternity, Theta Chi. What we did have is that a few of the people, one Jeff Clay, made us memorize theme songs from cartoons. And so I've been waiting to throw this one out. You ready? You going to give me backup?
I don't know if I'm ready.
Underdog? Ready? You know the backup?
Okay,
Ooh,
I can do
go?
that. Yeah.
Ooh, wow, ooh, wow, ooh, wow, ooh, wow, ooh, wow, wow. When in this world the headlines read of those whose hearts are filled with greed, who rob and steal from those in need, the cry goes out with blinding speed for underdog,
Underdog!
underdog,
Underdog!
speed of lightning, power of thunder, riding all who rob or plunder, underdog, underdog. Okay, so my first is underdog, and oh gosh, Disney. So Pluto.
Disney. Always
How
comes
about-
back to Disney, doesn't
And
it?
how about Goofy? Do you count Goofy? Because as they
don't
say,
know.
what the hell is Goofy?
What is Goofy? He's like a
give me
man
Goofy.
dog.
Okay, Snoopy.
Snoopy? Yep.
Give me Snoopy. Here's one out of left field. Crypto from the Superboy cartoon.
Oh, I don't know that one.
And Deputy Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how about this one? How about Cat Dog? Cat Dog.
Cat Dog doesn't count.
Cat Dog. It counts for everything.
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
That's sick stuff,
All right.
man. All right.
I got your 5, though.
You did. You did. I think you did. Even with Cat Dog being excluded. So, how's this for a list? Ready? Droopy Dog.
Oh, Droopy Dog.
Clifford the Big Red Dog. Tramp. And Lady and the Tramp.
Good one.
Brian Griffin from
Brian
Family
Griffin.
Guy.
We mentioned him already. Right.
Family Guy.
Awesome.
Odie from Garfield.
I'm not a Garfield person.
I'm not a Garfield person either. Garfield's right up there with Ziggy as far as I'm concerned for inane humor.
But you like Family Circle.
I did like Family
Yeah, I
Circle.
know,
How'd you
so-
know that?
You said that
Did
last
I?
season. Yep.
That was in my youth. All right. There's Scooby-Doo, who I got to tell you I've never been a fan of. Didn't quite get
I
it.
have like 5 Scooby-Doo ties. So,
that
you know,
doesn't
Scooby
surprise me
snacks.
either. You've got Hong Kong Phooey.
Oh,
Do you remember Hong Kong
I
Phooey?
do remember Hong Kong Phooey.
All right, I'm going to do my I've got a lyric here. Ready? Hong Kong Phooey, number 1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. He's got style, a groovy style, in a car that just won't stop. When the going gets rough, he's super tough with a Hong Kong Phooey chop. Hi-ya!
And a little bit racist.
Just a little.
A little bit racist.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Snoopy. Whenever I think of Snoopy, do you know the song
Oh, yeah, the Red Baron.
The Red Baron with the Royal Chessmen? I
Yes.
love that song. We won't
I did
torture
too when
you
I
with
was
it.
8.
Oh, I still love
Novelty
that
song guy.
Every Christmas, I love
Yep.
that song.
So we've also got Marmaduke. We've got Perdita and Pongo from
Perdita?
101
Oh,
Dalmatians.
I wouldn't have gotten that.
Augie Doggy.
And Doggy Daddy.
And Doggy Daddy. That's right. Huckleberry Hound.
Oh, so very Huckleberry Hound.
We've got
all I got.
Blue from Blue's Clues. That was a class. Steve guy or Joe guy?
The first guy.
The first guy, yeah. After the first guy left, I don't know what he left for, but apparently.
How many more years did you watch Blue's Clues, Matt, before you kind of
one episode?
Okay.
All right, we've got. This is a cultural phenomenon. Astro from the Jetsons,
Astro.
right?
And I say Ruh Roh for Scooby Doo, but actually Astro is
Astro's
the
the
original
guy.
Ruh Roh.
Yes, he is.
And then Scooby kind of stole it from Astro.
Mm-hmm. We've got Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Oh, do you like Rocky and Bullwinkle?
I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. Rocky
Natasha
and
and
Boris.
That's who it was. Yep.
And Dudley Do-Right, the Fractured Fairy Tales, the whole Jay Ward comic,
Good
Sunday
stuff there.
mornings.
Good
Great
stuff there. Yep. Muttley from the Wacky Racers. Remember that? He
Yes,
never
I
said
do.
anything. He just went like.
Isn't that with Dick Dastardly?
Yeah, Dick Dastardly. Absolutely. And then Max from The Grinch That Stole Christmas, right? Poor little dog with the antlers on his head. Right. All right. So that's dogs. You had more.
One more.
Fire away.
Remember Ricochet Rabbit, bing, 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 and Droop Along. Part of the Magilla Gorilla series. Do you like Magilla Gorilla?
I was not a McGilla Gorilla
All
guy.
right. Well, that's the only one I have.
I
Okay.
put them right in there with the banana splits as being non-entities in
I
my
was
life.
in the Banana Splits Club. One banana, two banana, three banana, four banana makes a bunch of soda, many more. Blah blah blah. I had a certificate.
You're killing me.
Banana Splits Club on Syosset.
Stop
it was very
man.
popular.
Yeah, I'll bet it was in Syosset. All right. Well, how about cartoon cats? How are you with that? Give me a couple of them, eh?
Can I give you Cat Dog again?
No. You're double dipping with cat dog.
Well, all right. Garfield, Felix the cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat.
Oh, that's right.
Whenever you were in a fix, he was just into his bag of tricks. All right, that's
That's
an
a good
oldie.
one. You do know your lyrics.
Well, I have a tie I have a Tom and Jerry tie.
Mm-hmm.
So
You still wear ties, huh?
I do.
Spreading the
I
germs of children to each other. Nice
And-
move, pediatrician.
But I fist bump.
Nice.
And how about Cat in the Hat? You know the song to that?
No.
Cat, hat, in French, chat, chapeau. In Spanish, it's el gato in a sombrero.
Stop.
Just
stop.
And then, all right, Courageous Cat and Minnie Mouse, the greatest song.
Uh-huh.
You'd love it. It's instrumental, guitar instrumental.
cool. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what I got. Is that 5?
How about, this was my favorite cat show, or at least one of them when I was younger. Top Cat. Top Cat.
The
The
most affectional Top Cat.
I knew you'd know the lyrics.
Who's intellectual. Wait, close friends get to call him TC. Something about his dignity. Top Cat, great show.
Yeah, I didn't know the lyrics. Thank you for enjoying.
Did I mention I watched
giving
a
them to
lot
us.
of television as a child?
Yes, you have many times. There's Stimpy from Ren and Stimpy. There is Tom from Tom and Jerry. There's Crazy Cat, probably the original cartoon kooky cat. He was from 1932.
30s, yeah.
One of my personal favorites, Penelope Pussycat in the Pepe Le Pew series.
Oh, I love
Remember?
Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew
And
was she was like the reluctant love interest.
Those stink lines they would
The
paint.
stink
Yeah,
lines.
that was great.
Yep.
That was great.
No, she was awesome. You've got Scratchy from The Simpsons
Oh,
in
Itchy
that
and
little
Scratchy
play
show.
within a play.
Yes.
Yes. Little Shakespeare there, I
Right.
think. Probably my favorite ever, Sylvester with a lateral lisp going on there, right?
He needed to get a laser tongue tie procedure.
What's a buckle procedure? Yes.
Yeah.
We've got, let me see here else. Cheshire Cat, always creep me out a little bit. We've got Figaro from Pinocchio, and the inimitable Puss in Boots. How about that? Mm-hmm.
I used to like Puss in Boots, but now I only think of Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, I do
Shrek,
too.
the
As well
Shrek
you
Puss in
should.
Boots. And
Yeah.
he was great. He was great.
And last but not least, the first movie I was ever taken to when I was a child, it was me and 2 friends for my birthday, was the Aristocats. And the Aristocats,
Everybody loves to be a cat.
yeah, man. So that had Duchess and her daughter Marie, but most famously it had Thomas O'Malley, whose full name, by the way, is Abraham DeLacy Giuseppe Casey Thomas O'Malley, the alley cat.
Wow.
I think that's all we need to say about cats for right now in terms of cartoons. But let's move ahead with real cats.
Although, I guess we're talking about cats, and this is a family podcast, and I never saw one, but I remember as a kid, the adult-only, something called Fritz the Cat.
Yeah, I never knew what that was.
I never knew what that was either, but it's obviously
Something creepy and profane.
creepy and profane, yes.
Mm-hmm.
No song on that.
Well, we wouldn't have known it, would we?
Nope. Okay, so after the break, we'll be right back. Nice segue into cats. And even though we, at the Podcast Pediatricians, aren't quite fond of felines as we are of canines, they do bring something to the table. No pun intended.
Nice.
A study showed that cat owners are about 40% less likely to suffer from heart attacks than those who do not own cats. And another study found that over a 10-year period, cat owners were 30% less likely to die of a heart attack or stroke than non-cat owners. A French study in 2012 showed that cat ownership can be an advantage to children over the age of 5 diagnosed with autism. The study revealed that autistic children who share their homes with cats are more likely to share with other children and comfort other children than those who did not have a cat at home. And a new 2017 study indicates that newborns who live with cats have a lower risk of childhood asthma, pneumonia, and bronchiolitis.
And lastly, a study of over 7,000 people done by Indiana University at Bloomington. Hoosiers discovered that watching cat videos boosts the viewer's energy and positive emotions and decreases negative feelings. Rob, I can see you doing this. Are you a cat video guy?
I've never watched a cat video, and I think it just causes insomnia. I don't know
what
what
the
appeal
attraction is.
All.
Are you a YouTube watcher? Because we have our own YouTube channel now.
Of course, big time.
Yep. It's only audio, but maybe once Rob has some work done, we can make it visual as well. In the meantime, it would seem simply too disturbing for you at home who are faint of heart.
If you're alluding to the Eagles tattoo I got on my face, a la Mike Tyson, yes, it's disturbing.
It's disturbing. It does not need to be shared with our listeners.
Epidemic of Eagles tattoos. Look it up.
There it is.
And I had to get it on my face.
Yeah, we're fans, but goodness gracious. So, of course, along with the advantages of cats come some disadvantages. Cat scratch disease. This occurs when someone's scratched or bitten by a cat infected with a bacterium called Bartonella henselae. Symptoms of this disease include enlarged tender lymph nodes, headache, fever, and fatigue. This condition usually resolves on its own, but occasionally we will prescribe antibiotics if the infection seems severe.
Actually, Dr. Steve and I wrote a paper on cat scratch disease causing facial palsy in a child back in the day at our children's hospital about 20 years ago. And sometimes cat scratch can be really severe with liver, bone, heart, and brain involvement. So we should always ask about kittens in the house. And I have to ask, talking about cat scratch, do you like the song?
My admiration for the song is somewhat colored by the author.
Cat scratch
Motor
fever.
City Madman.
But then I think that maybe he had cat scratch fever and he did have brain CNS involvement. And then it explains everything.
Quite a bit, I would think. All right. Then there's toxoplasmosis. Toxoplasma is an organism transmitted through cat feces. It often has no symptoms at all, but when symptoms are present, they tend to include things like fever, muscle pain, swollen glands, and fatigue. More seriously, toxoplasmosis can affect pregnant women and cause miscarriages, premature births, and serious implications for the health of a newborn. This is why women who are expecting should avoid contact with cat feces and with litter boxes. What are other disadvantages of cats? Well, they jump up on counters and they do other annoying things. I had a friend growing up whose mom liked cats and whose dad hated them. On more than one occasion, I witnessed Mr. J cuss a blue streak, then open the front door and literally throw the cat all the way across the street. It was very impressive. And the cat would land on its feet and scamper away. My friend and I used to joke that if cat throwing was an Olympic event, his dad would definitely be in the running for a medal. It was really quite a thing to see.
You know, another heartwarming story about growing up in South Jersey.
The cat throwing event?
And the Gotthold family and their...
And our kin.
Throwing cats.
Oh my gosh.
Everything gets stored away. Build a picture of early Matt's childhood.
Watching Mike's dad throw the cat across the street time after time. Sometimes, in fact, Mike and I would put the cat on the counter when we knew his dad was about to walk in the kitchen, just so we could watch it.
That's getting cut.
I'm remembering back now to my childhood. Quick, here comes your dad.
Fling it.
Back to normalcy here.
Okay, how about some other critters that find their way into our homes? Rabbits. Now, rabbits are actually the most allergenic of all common indoor pets. So if your child has a lot of allergies, especially pet allergies, don't get a rabbit. Plus, rabbits can cause tularemia, which is a rare infection giving ulcers and painful lymph nodes and fevers and chills. They love tularemia on the board, so if there's a question you're not sure about and it mentions rabbits at all, always pick tularemia. In one study, a stressed-out group of adults were told to pet a real rabbit, a real turtle, or a toy rabbit or a toy turtle. The toys had no effect, but stroking a living creature, whether hard-shelled or furry, relieved anxiety. It worked for people regardless of whether they initially said they liked animals or not. Now, Matt, you had a pet rock. Did you pet that? Did it help your anxiety
Well,
in
it says
South Jersey?
pet, so of course.
Exactly.
Did your kids ever collect rocks?
No.
At one point, one of my kids would... We would take walks around the block, and she would literally pick up gravel from our neighbors, and she wanted to bring it home all the time. She had a gravel collection. It was really kind of sad.
That was for Christmas.
That's right. We didn't have coal.
Crickets. Jiminy crickets. Animals don't necessarily have to be furry and cuddly to help. In a 2016 study published in the journal Gerontology, elderly people who were given 5 crickets in a cage were less depressed after 8 weeks than a control group. Caring for something living seems to make a difference. China has a long, elaborate, and distinguished history of crickets as pets that persists to this day. Now, that's all and good, but if I gave my mom some crickets, would not go over well.
I guess it's context, right?
I did eat a fried cricket once on the Khao San Road in Bangkok.
Nice.
Chewy.
Street food?
Street food.
I ate an entire plate of crickets in Oaxaca, Mexico when I was down there with my daughter doing a little bit of service work. It was kind of on a dare, kind of not. And you know what it tastes like? It tasted like crunchy soy sauce.
I think you're going to say chicken. Horses. Horses have been used as therapy animals in parts of Europe since the 1860s. Basic activities like grooming a horse and leading a horse around a pen has been shown to reduce PTSD symptoms in children and adolescents, as a study out of Purdue showed in 2015. So the 2 greatest cartoon horses, Matt?
I know this one. Quick Draw McGraw.
Quick Draw McGraw. And what's his alter ego?
El Kabong.
El Kabong. The stupidest cartoon. And the second one's a more recent one. I'm not sure.
Joe McHorsehead or something like that.
BoJack Horseman.
That's the guy.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's good.
Now, it's funny.
Therapeutic horse riding is also great for physical and cognitive disabilities and autism in children. And we actually have a great program here in Delaware at the Carousel Park. And a few of my patients have used it and loved it. Have you had any of your patients use the Carousel Park therapeutic riding program?
I have had them use that one, and there's another one closer to where I live that does a similar thing. Yeah, they've got like 50 horses. In fact, one of my daughters worked there over a summer and really thought it was fantastic. So horses, so what else? Well, how about fish, right? Even fish can be helpful to health, even without eating them.
Or hunger.
Or hunger, that's true. But let's talk health overall. When patients at an Alzheimer's disease facility dined in front of aquariums with brightly colored fish, they ate more, got better nutrition, and were less prone to pacing. They were also more attentive and less lethargic.
Okay, I totally traumatized one of my kids with fish. The bottom line is always let the new treated water sit for a day before you put it into a tank with new fish. There was morning after morning of my child waking up to dead floating fish. The worst was the birthday morning of a birthday sleepover, and they all got up to see these new fish floating. So
who doesn't know that? Like, you didn't know that?
I kept going back to the aquarium saying it died again. They just sell me another one, and
of course they will.
Told me that you had to let it wait for
business.
a day.
How about guinea pigs?
I'm not a guinea pig person.
I'm not a guinea pig guy either, but animals make socializing easier for kids who find it stressful. So in a study conducted at Purdue, when children with autism had guinea pigs in the classroom, they were more social with their peers, smiled and laughed more, and showed fewer signs of stress.
Still not a guinea pig guy.
I'm not sure that would be worth it to me.
Is that all they do at Purdue? Is do studies on
well, Purdue
animals?
seems to be.
I guess so.
Seems to be quite the animal study place.
And basketball. Okay.
Indeed. Yep. Boilermakers. Still never understood that one.
Although zoonotic or animal-borne infections are a risk, most disease transmission from domestic animals is to farmers in developing countries. Infections acquired from pets are actually uncommon. However, infections from pets do happen. Some of the common germs that pets carry, such as canine parvovirus and heartworm, can't actually spread to humans. However, there are certain infection agents that can be given to humans. One such infection, which could be spread by dogs, cats, and hamsters, is caused by the bacteria Campylobacter. It's a leading cause of bacterial intestinal infections. It can be treated with antibiotics. I got this as an intern, and suffice to say, I was in the bathroom a lot, and I thought I'd get out a call, and they said, nope, not good enough. Had to take call.
Wow.
There's also ringworm, or as it's called in pediatrics, wingworm. It's another organism that can be transmitted from an animal. This is a fungal skin infection that can occur in humans and pets. Children can acquire ringworm by touching cats or dogs which are infected by it. This condition can be easily treated with medication. Usually we'll use topical iconazole. If it's on the scalp or if it's really nasty, we can use oral medications. I personally like terbinafine or oral Lamisil once a day. Some people are griseofulvin people. What do you do, Matt?
I usually will start with griseofulvin, only because sometimes we have a difficult time getting the terbinafine through the insurers.
Generic terbinafine.
Okay. Toxocariasis is an illness caused by roundworm, which lives in the intestines of dogs and cats. The eggs of these worms pass through the feces of animals and contaminate the ground where children play. If a child ingests the soil, he or she may acquire the disease. Symptoms of this disease include fever, rash, coughing or wheezing, and increased lymph node size. This illness may clear on its own, or it may need to be cleared with the use of medications.
And for some reason, it's always on the boards also. And they want to know that you know that Toxocara canis is from the dogs, and Toxocara catus is from the cats.
Have you ever had a worm like that you had
No,
diagnosed?
I have not. You?
I had an Ascaris worm. Is that how you say it?
Yes,
Ascaris?
Ascaris? Yes.
Yeah, somebody brought it in.
Humongous.
Oh, it was monstrous. I felt badly when I told the mom what it was, although she was quite disturbed. It was even worse than that. So yeah, mom brought it in, and it was really it was freaky.
Yuck.
Freaky. Okay. So probably the most dramatic illness that people become concerned about as it pertains to dogs and cats is rabies. Rabies is actually very rare in the United States. However, it's quite common in other parts of the world, and about 50,000 people a year die from rabies worldwide. That's astounding. Most of these deaths were in countries where dogs are not routinely vaccinated for rabies, so largely in countries where dogs run wild or they run in packs and they populate cities. It can be pretty hairy, pretty dangerous.
And you got to point out that if a human gets infected with rabies, pretty much they're dead.
Yeah, it's a death sentence more or less, which is why if there's any risk at all of somebody having been exposed to rabies, usually we're pretty aggressive in terms of treating it.
Right. There's one case in Wisconsin, a famous case at Children's Hospital, where they did all kinds of novel treatments and the kid survived, but pretty much game over. So you got to prevent it, like you said.
Yeah. If an animal's infected with rabies, the virus is in the saliva, and therein lies the risk to a person if they were bitten by the animal. Cases have also been reported where the virus can be spread from the saliva of the infected animal and coming into contact with either broken skin or mucous membranes.
But if we're going to mention rabies, we should have mentioned two specific type of contexts. One is bats,
yes,
and one is raccoons, but especially bats. If there's any bat around, there's any question, you're probably just going to want to prophylax. There's been reports of young children in a bedroom and a bat was seen and they died of rabies even though they didn't see any puncture wounds. So we are really conservative about treating. And the rabies series now is only 4 shots. It used to be more, and you give immunoglobulin, you give 4 shots.
Yeah, so it's a pretty straightforward treatment. I mean, nobody wants to get shots, but oh my gosh, it certainly beats the alternative of certain death from rabies.
And squirrels and rats do not have rabies. So that comes up a lot. Question like a squirrel, something like that. You can get infections, but you're not going to get rabies from them. One of the names for pediatricians, for non-pediatricians, they say, is that we are the veterinarians of medicine because we take care of babies who can't talk just like pets. And I always found that to be quite a compliment because veterinarians are wonderful. It's actually kind of harder to get into vet school than it is to get into medical school. And they have to deal with so many different species at so many stages of life and so many different illnesses. And the other part they have to deal with is if they can help a pet, but the family can't afford it. And that kind of conversation comes up a lot. It's not as if we have a child who has some bad disease or cancer and a parent will say, you know, we're kind of stretched this year.
Right.
We're just going to let it slide.
Yeah.
But the vets have to deal with that all the time. And sometimes they kind of give their services for free. But I always found it would be really difficult for me to be a veterinarian because of that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, parents can be really passionate and sometimes unreasonable about the types of things they expect us to do for their children. But boy, talk about pet owners. They're right up there with parents in terms of, because many of them certainly consider themselves to be quote unquote parents to their pets. And it's a rough job. You know, I give all the respect in the world to veterinarians.
Amen. So, again, having a pet is a great experience. In the right context, it teaches children responsibility, kindness, empathy, and respect. They can profit from medical advantages of having a pet and can benefit enormously from a pet's affection and companionship. One last thing, Matt. Would you ever compost your dead pet when it dies?
Heck no. I'd bury them with respect.
A new company called Rooted Pet will compost your dog when it dies into a pod of rich soil, which takes about 8 weeks. Then you can use the soil to nourish a tree or a flower, or they will send you a houseplant growing in the compost from your pet's remains. Beautiful and environmentally friendly, or creepy and gross.
By the way, they are not our sponsor.
No.
Oh my goodness, no! My dogs will be, as long as it's okay with my neighbors and they don't report me to the local health department.
There are laws about it. So
I know that
you got to be careful.
Got to sneak my dogs into the ground at the end of their well-worn lives, I think. How about, you know what we didn't talk about? Just for fun, what are pets you shouldn't have, Rob?
Lions.
That's a good one. Good one.
Hyenas.
Although, who were those two guys? The magician guys. One of them got like half eaten
Penn
by
and
the
Teller?
lion. No, the one who got eaten by the lion in Las Vegas.
Oh,
Kind of half eaten by the lion.
Right.
The two guys, the older guys with the blonde hair. You know what I'm talking about.
Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one.
You said Penn and Teller. Are you kidding me? Those guys are too smart to get anywhere near a lion. I've always my short list includes things like cobras, Komodo dragons. As from what I remember, both Komodo dragons and hyenas both have essentially like the nastiest mouths in the world. They have all these horrific like bacteria in there. So essentially, if they bite you, it's not just the trauma of being bitten, but like immediately you become septic, and die within like an hour anyway. So it's awful, really awful. All right, what else you got, Rob?
According to kidshealth.com, a really good website for kids under 5. Experts say to steer clear of these pets which can bite, trigger allergies, or spread disease and infection. Number 1, reptiles, turtles, snakes, lizards, and iguanas. And to me, the main issue there is salmonella infections. I had turtles when I was a kid, did not get a salmonella infection, but really they're high risk of having salmonella and not good for kids. Have you heard about the recent French salmonella baby milk scandal?
I have not.
Well, there's been a recall of powdered formula called Lactalis in 83 countries contaminated with salmonella, and it's a huge scandal in France.
Wow.
Another animal they say to stay away from is rodents. Hamsters, gerbils, guinea pigs, chinchillas, hedgehogs, prairie dogs, mice, rats. No argument for me. That's not my kind
Well, at
of
least for
animal.
kids who are under 5. Yeah. I had gerbils when I was younger.
You bring them home.
I
You
can
bring
remember
'em
having
home
a,
on the weekend from first grade that you have the pet gerbil. I can deal with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you, but in 5th grade we had to have pets and actually like conduct some type of a scientific, not really experiment. It's not we were slicing them open or anything, but like
Throw them across the street.
only Mike's family threw
Okay.
them across the street. But I can remember showing my classroom the gerbil that I had and holding him up to my face like, oh, look at the cute little gerbil. And the thing latched onto my nose. Essentially went screaming down the hall, flailing my hands to the nurse's office so she could pry the thing off of my nose.
And that was the first time Matt tried jazz hands.
That's right.
Amphibians, frogs, toads, and salamanders. Ferrets, and I have to say, ferrets are probably the worst you should get.
Yeah.
Don't get a ferret. Baby poultry, chicks, ducklings, goslings, turkeys.
Yeah, these are big around the holidays and not a good choice. Not at all.
Now, monkeys is on the list, except maybe the monkey that Ross had on Friends. Remember that monkey? Didn't watch Friends. Okay.
Sorry, man. So, Robert Rooney, any animal you ever brought home and you weren't allowed to keep?
No. No animal. Never, ever.
I
You?
brought home a squirrel once, a baby squirrel. And really, my friend and I were completely adamant about the fact that we would take such good care of it. It'll be such a good pet. And both sets of our parents said, like, no, take that thing back to the park where it belongs. But I did live in a household where bringing things home.
Did you fling it across the street?
No, I kept Mike's dad away from it.
Okay, good.
No, but my dad, his job was he was the borough clerk of Merchantville, New Jersey, and so he had like 8 different titles. He was the clerk, he was the treasurer of school monies, he had like 10 different titles because our town only had like at the time maybe 2,600 people in it. And so in the borough hall, it was just my dad's office and the police station. And the police would occasionally find dogs in the street, just like, abandoned puppies. And my dad inevitably brought them home. So any dog I had when I was younger was usually a mutt and generally brought home by my dad, who just fell in love with them, while they were sitting in the police station. So
anything that was left, he'd find and bring home?
Well, anything that nobody claimed. I mean, he would, if he took a shine to him, he brought him home. So I would say 3 of our 4 dogs when I was growing up were dogs that my dad had just brought home from the police station that somebody abandoned.
Are there any pictures of you, Matt, as a baby?
Like ever?
Or were you just found and given to your dad and taken home?
I see what
do you
you're
think?
getting at.
Is
Yeah.
there is this...
I don't know.
Okay.
Come to think of it, all my family albums start around 1.5.
And you don't look like any of them.
I don't. Oh, man. Sorry, Mom. That should just about wrap up the show this week. Please join us next time when we discuss...
Privates and prep.
Privates and prep. There you go. All right, so we're going to try something different this time as opposed to the good night and all that hooey.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I never cared for. But let's
Okay.
try saying goodbye in a different language. What language do you think is the most beautiful language, Rob?
French or Yiddish. Maybe
Yiddish?
Yiddish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my what sounds really beautiful and lyrical to me, and I'm not the only person who feels this way, is Italian. So from my basic research for this episode, I have found that there are 11 ways to say goodbye in Italian, but I'm only going to use the one that I can pronounce, or the 2 that I can pronounce, and I'll get back to you with the others. So, Arrivederci. Ciao.
Zay Gezunt. Zay Gezunt.
That sounds like somebody Superman fought in the last movie.
Matt Zay Gezunt.
Pickup time, a hero arose, a funny-looking dog with a big black nose. He flew into the sky to seek revenge, but the baron shot him down. Curses foiled again. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more. The bloody red baron was rolling up the score. 80 men died trying to end that spree of the bloody red baron of Germany. The Snoopy swore that he'd get that man, so he asked the Green Pumpkin for a new battle plan.
Podcast Pediatricians Productions. All rights reserved.